there had been no time to go shopping. If Frances was honest, she also didn't want to spend any of her hard-earned shillings on clothes that might seem fashionable in South Australia, but be considered dowdy in London. England! Her heart drummed against her ribs. She'd be in London for a winter Christmas, and all the magic that entailed. She wished her mother were here, to see Frances step onto the gleaming gangway with its handrails shining so white they reflected the summer sun. But then Frances would have felt obliged to stay home, whereas now she was free of any obligation. Her mother was happy up in Queensland, helping her son and daughter-in-law preparing for the birth of their second child. An elegant young couple stepped out of one of the buildings where passengers could wait. The woman had a fur stole around her shoulders, despite the day already heating up. Her hair shone black like a magpie's wing, and her dress could have come straight out of a fashion magazine. Her dapper companion was dressed all in white. He took her arm as she stalked away on her high heels. Behind them followed an older woman with a fur coat slung around her shoulders. Her dark hair showed no traces of silver. Frances suspected an expensive hairdresser deserved the credit for that. 3 porters struggled in their wake, lugging trunks and carpet bags. Frances glanced at her own outfit of green skirt and yellow jumper. Maybe she should have dressed up too. Uncle Sal's suit had shiny patches, but his posture would always be dignified. As for Jack, he looked perfectly at ease in his flannels, shirt, and lightweight blazer. "Is it going to be all elegant folks?" she asked. "Not likely," Jack said. "You meet all kinds of people on these voyages. And don't forget, being rich doesn't make them any better than anyone else, only less likely to worry about their bills." He signaled a couple of porters to pick up their luggage. "Shall we?" Frances slipped her arm through Jack and Uncle Sal's. "I'm ready for anything." They strolled up the gangway at an easy pace. Frances would have loved to race aboard, but it would have been embarrassing to behave childishly in public view, and she didn't want Uncle Sal to make a wrong step. She broke into a huge smile she couldn't stop. Neither did she want to. What did it matter if other people realized that she wasn't used to adventures like this? Jack's top note was a classy joint, but the Empress of the Sea oozed money and an old-world elegance, born of centuries of knowing the Empire's place in the world. Australia couldn't compete with that. Clacking high heels and giggles behind them announced more arrivals. "Excuse me," a high-pitched soprano said behind Frances. She obliged and let go of Jack's arm as she stepped as close to the handrail as possible. 3 young women in fashionable dresses rushed past, leaving behind a trail of too sweet perfume. "They must be part of the crew," Uncle Sal said knowingly, as he cast an expert eye over the trio who now rushed past a man in uniform. "They are very smart." Frances suppressed a little sigh. "Not as smart as you," Jack said. "They probably meant to impress the few locals out and about at this hour." He grinned at Frances as he fished a thick envelope with their tickets out of his pocket. "Good morning, sir." The uniformed man clicked his heels together and took the papers. "Mr. Sullivan, Miss Palmer, Mr. Bernardo, if you'd follow the stewards to your cabins." "Thanks," Jack said. But the man already switched his attention to the next passenger, a dowager-like lady with a nervous corgi in her arms, and a mild-mannered young man at her heels. Inside, the ship was at least as impressive as from the outside. Thick blue carpet muffled their steps, and the wood gleamed in the light from the glass-domed wall lamps. The porters led them down a flight of stairs that forked off into 2 directions. They took the left passage, which was flanked by cabin doors. The first steward, carrying Frances's trunk, stopped outside cabin number 107. He unlocked it and stepped aside to allow Frances to enter. "We'll see you in 10 minutes on the promenade deck," Jack said, as he and Uncle Sal were led further down the passage.